Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Kieno with STEMwithKieno.com, and today I'm going to talk to you about, or I'm going to continue the installment of another installment of the Private Pilot Ground School. Today we're going to talk about uncontrolled and controlled fields. We're going to talk about runway layout, the traffic pattern, wind direction indicators, and the segmented circle. So again, there's a mouthful: controlled and uncontrolled airports, the traffic pattern, wind direction indicators, and the segmented circle. Okay. Each day, airplanes, they take off and land at private airports, busy international airports, and any other type of field in between. Whether most of your flying is in and out of your local airport or you frequently journey other destinations, an airport will never be an unfamiliar territory once you've learned the basic procedures for operating in the terminal environment. Regardless of your choice of airport, knowing how to determine the correct runway to use and understanding the markings and taxiways and runways is essential every time you fly. Night flying offers a new challenge as the airport is transformed by a myriad of lights and stuff like that, and we'll talk about that later. So first we're going to talk about controlled and uncontrolled airports. If we go to our sectional chart, which if you're operating out of flight school, you're probably going to have a fixed base operator that will sell you sectional charts. And this is New York sectional. So this is what the chart will actually look like. All right. And we can look at airport information. Okay, there's always a legend. This is the New York legend. The legend is kind of like the definition of symbols that you're going to find on your map. That's what a legend is. All right, so it says it right up here at the top, and I'll try to zoom in. Airports having control towers are shown in blue, these guys. All others in magenta. So the magenta or reddish color is what we would call a non-towered airport. So if you guys ever flown out of places like Boston Logan International, it's blue. That is a towered airport. That has a control tower. Or you've ever flown out of Newark Liberty International, JFK, or LaGuardia, they're blue. Teterboro, blue. Essex County Airport, Morristown Municipal, blue. Trenton Mercer Airport, blue. These airports have a tower. Now, it doesn't always mean that they're always in operation. For instance, Trenton Mercer Airport, the tower is not always in operation. So when the tower is not in operation, and you can look up your chart supplement, you kind of sort of treat it like a non-towered airport. So, towered airports that are in operation have an air traffic controller. In the non-towered airports, you would perform a procedure called self-announcing. And we'll discuss that later. Now, let's go into runway layout. When runways are built, they don't just kind of lay the airport out any kind of way. Wanted to focus on Newark Liberty International Airport. When they lay out the direction of this airport, there's probably some prevailing winds that exist. They probably got with, I don't know, would you consult an almanac about winds? Maybe, I'm not sure. But they do some data. And they say, you know what, most of the times the winds are blowing this way. Due to, terrain and things of that nature that may have factors that affect what we would call a prevailing wind direction. So these runways are laid out according to whatever airport diagram. All right, so Again, in a previous video, we talked about magnetic north and true north. Runways are laid out according to their magnetic direction. You're going to be aligning your heading indicator periodically with your magnetic compass, so they lay them out in magnetic direction because that's pretty much the reference that you're going to be flying by, magnetic direction. Now, if we zoom in, we can see that we have, let me pull this to the side because I want this kind of lined up. Okay, so you can see runway 4 right, you can see runway 4 left, and the heading is about 040, or actually, so it's 038 degrees, but it rounds out to 040 degrees, so that's like 2 degrees off. We also have another runway up top, runway 29, and the other side should be 11, yeah, 11. All right, so these runways are laid out according to their magnetic direction, and I just believe it's like they do research and they figure out what the winds are normally like. Doesn't mean they're always going to be like that, but what they're normally like. So runways are laid out according to their magnetic direction. So I placed the compass rose here because the top of any chart is always north. So we can see north up top here. And if we kind of look how the line is playing with the runway a little bit more, we can see that it's about 040 degrees. They said 038, but you can see it's a little bit off. All right. Runway 11. Let's align it with runway 11. So if this airplane was coming in for 11, it'd actually be 110 degrees. We add a 0. All right, so it's kind of sort of about there. All right. So runways are labeled in accordance with their magnetic direction. We're landing on runway 29. That's about 290 degrees. We put it there, and it's roughly 290 degrees. So they're rounded up or rounded down. So when we see runway 4, it's probably about 40 degrees, which will be pointing in that direction, which would be these runways. If we were landing on runway 22, we'd be on a heading of about 220 degrees. 29, 290 degrees, and runway 11, if we're landing on 11, we'd be about 110 degrees or 110 degrees on our heading. So that's runway. So the numbers that you see on the runways are not arbitrary. They correspond to the magnetic north reference. So runway 27 would be a heading of 270 degrees. Runway 9 would be 090, or what we call 090 degrees. We just add a 0. Runways. Okay, so this is runway 27. We just add a 0. Runway 34, add a 0, 340 degrees. 28, 280 degrees. Sometimes you can have a left and a right, like we have 4 left, 4 right. They're parallel runways. This is 4 right, that is 4 left. So they will assign an L or R to it. This is 28 left. 30, 300 degrees right. Runway 360, 360 degrees. Runway 27, 270 degrees. 28. So I think you guys get my point. Now, since we're talking about runways, we have to talk about the traffic pattern. And let's get a graphic up here. Airport traffic pattern. In a lot of training operations, you will fly a traffic pattern. So if this is your active runway, you're going to be landing in this direction. This will be your final approach leg. When you take off, you're actually in the upwind leg. And typically, if you're leaving the airport traffic area, you're going to depart straight out or 45 degrees to the left if it is a left-hand traffic pattern. Now, there is such a thing as a right-hand traffic pattern as well, but you would consult your chart supplement in order to know whether or not, and sometimes on the sectional chart there's information that tells you whether that airport is a left or right-hand traffic pattern. So we can see two parallel runways. One is a right-hand traffic pattern, and the other one is a left-hand traffic pattern. All right, when you depart, you're in the upwind leg, crosswind, downwind, base, and then final approach. So let's go to our trusty copy, paste. Okay, so as we're flying this traffic pattern, we would take off, we would be in the upwind leg, we could execute a 90-degree turn to the right. That would put us in the crosswind leg, 90-degree turn right, downwind leg, 90-degree turn to the right, base, and then final approach to the runway. If it was a left-hand traffic pattern, upwind, 90 degrees left, crosswind, 90 degrees left, downwind, 90 degrees left, base, and 90 degrees left again. Final approach. Now, we have wind indicators, didn't mean to move you, that tell us, hey, land in this direction. The first one I'll talk about is the windsock. If we overflew the airport, we flew over the airport, we would see a little area with a segmented circle, and we would see a windsock. You could have a wind T, or you could have a tetrahedron. The windsock, you know the direction, you fly into the small part because I'm sorry, jacking this up. You land in the direction of the wide part. So if the pilots overflew the airport, they would notice that the wind direction is blowing this way. The wind flows into the wide part of the cone and it blows out of the small part. So if I overflew this airport, I'll be like, okay, I'm landing on one of these runways, but this is going to be the final approach leg because we always want to land into the wind. Sometimes you might look in this indicator and you may have a wind T. All right. It will probably be in this direction. Sometimes the wind direction may vary. It might be your wind T might look like that. All right. If that is the case, then it's just like your airplane wings, and this will be your tail. This tells you I'm landing in this direction. With the windsock would be kind of like this, and that would indicate that you would have a left crosswind. You could also have a right crosswind, but if it's like that, you would still be landing in this direction. The only way you would be landing in this direction for final approach is if the sock was completely turned around. The third wind direction indicator is a tetrahedron. So if you looked in the segmented circle, and you can see it here, as you overfly the airport, you can look down and it will tell you what direction we're landing in. The tetrahedron would actually point into the direction of the runway. So as you overflew it, you would see that the wide part is here, the small part is here, and that means that the wind is coming from this direction. All right. So the wind sock, the wind T, or the tetrahedron, which is that, are three different types of wind direction indicators. So that's about it. And I got that done almost under 10 minutes, about 15 minutes. So to recap, we talked about towered, non-towered airports, or controlled and uncontrolled airports. We talked about runway layouts and how runways are numbered according to their magnetic direction. We talked about the airport traffic pattern. And we talked about wind direction indicators and the segmented circle. Now, in addition to that, this segmented circle, you could have these little dog legs, which I don't have one there. But this will just tell you need to make left traffic. So this is your base and final leg. And I'll explain this a little bit more in detail in the video. If you were landing on this runway, it would be right base and right final, meaning there's a right hand turn into the final approach course. This would indicate a left hand because this is base and then final. That's what those legs represent. If you need any further clarification, talk to your flight instructor or leave a comment. I'm Kieno with Kieno.com. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great evening.